you're listening to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa and special guest co-host, blues harp player Johnny Mastro from Johnny Mastro and the Mama's Boys, and you just heard Life-in-Low-Fidelity, and I'd like to dedicate that to most politicians and ex-lovers. But anyway, it's from the upcoming new album. It's a title track from the upcoming new album by LA-based rock artist Zachary Kibbee, and you can keep up with him at ZacharyKibbee.com. So it's Zachary Kibbee, because you could, spell that differently, .com. So check him out, and so happy to have him back on the show. Zachary, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are y'all doing? You hear me okay?
Doing good. Doing good. Is it okay to dedicate that to a lot of politicians?
Oh, no, that was actually like a perfect dedication. I was going to mention that. I was like, way to go. Just, you nailed it.
Nail them.
I know, because it is that. I mean, it's a relationship. Isn't it all about trust at the end of the day, right? It's trust in love, trust in relationships, and, it all comes down to that. And so that's really it, fidelity and trust.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That song's about partying a little bit too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Love it.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with partying too much. Listen, and you're in L.A. Johnny's in New Orleans. They know how to party. Do you have, low fidelity down there, Johnny?
I'm a big fan of low fidelity.
I know. If you don't get dirty, you're not going to survive, right?
Yeah.
So,
but sonically,
a good life motto.
And sonically, I'm a big fan of low fidelity.
See, there it is. Yeah, I know. Zachary, you were on our show I can't even go back years ago. Years ago.
It was 4 years ago, I think, because it was when my last album was coming out. Because I haven't released an album since May of 2016. I've released a million singles on for streaming and stuff like that. And that seems to be the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it was a long, long time ago, but a lot has happened since then. So, there it is.
It's been 4 years in the last 5 months. So if you add that to the 4 years before that, it feels like it's 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's going to write the 2020 album? It's I think a lot of music is going to come out of this year. I think a lot of music is going to come out. We're going to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A whole bunch.
There's
of music.
A lot to say.
Yeah, so Life-in-Low-Fidelity, this comes out July 31st, right?
That's correct. Yep, it'll be out on all of the streaming and downloadable, iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer. I'm sure it's already up on Napster for free, I'm sure.
Yeah, Napster.
We know how it goes.
So I'm just going to say everyone go to ZacharyKibbee.com. But listen, your music, it's crazy. Your music ended up on Shameless, and I'm like, I know that music, and it's your music. Shameless.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
I
I've
love
had
Shameless.
2 songs on that show. Yeah.
I know,
It's
and I'm like,
cool show.
I know this music, and I didn't know it was yours, but I knew the music, and it
we've
goes
heard
and
that.
repeat in my head. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you picked that up. Yeah, that's an interesting show. The title of the show is the perfect title.
It's Low Fidelity.
For the show.
I love it.
Well, I would say
Cool
Shameless. That show is just ridiculous. It's crazy.
It's funny.
I love it. Have you watched the British version?
That's even better.
The original?
Is it?
Oh, you must. It's far better.
Oh, you have to. It's way
I'm
better.
just saying. It is. Johnny, have you watched Shameless?
No, you know what? I haven't been much on. Is that regular TV or is it
No.
Netflix or
Netflix.
something?
Yeah.
All right, I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up. It's funny.
I have a friend who won't watch it because their house is so dirty. And I'm like,
whatever.
Well, she's a hotelier, so she's
that's the whole
teeny-weeny.
point.
But
the
Shameless
point.
is badass. You've got to watch it. It's one of the most badass Netflix things ever. And then the British version, which is the original version, is on Hulu, and that is pretty cool too. It's it's fantastic. So you're putting a lot of your music on these shows, right, Zachary? That's kind of
so cool.
A lot of what you've been doing.
Yeah, I'm not really doing that. I mean, yes.
Well, I'm just going. That's what the publisher
I have a publishing.
You know
company.
how it goes.
Yeah. I'm signed to a publishing deal, so they do all of that, which is great because it's free publicity. You make a little scratch, and it feels good. It's kind of affirming. Like actually, after I released the Songs from the Mud album in 2016, I started producing myself more and kind of investing into that side of the music world. And so it was pretty validating when some of those songs that I kind of wrote and produced started being used in a couple TV shows. And I have a song that's been in an Uber Eats commercial for like 2 years in Europe, kind of bouncing it around in Europe and different countries. And like I produced that. So like that felt really good. It's like, I can be an artist and a producer at the same time. It's scary and weird and cool.
No, but I think there's something about controlling your own thing. Like, Johnny, you jump in on this because you make records all the time. Isn't there, like, sometimes you want to call a producer in, but you have to have the trust in the producer. You're like, what is that? There's a balance in there. Like, and we're going back to trust again.
Yeah, it's like you gotta find somebody that you can work with. It's scary, you write your stuff and then you put it in the hands of somebody, and if you're not on the same page, like if you could tell Zachary he has a vision for what his music's going to sound like, and so if you start putting somebody in there that is going to mess with that, then it becomes really uncomfortable, for the artist. It's not. But can I ask Zachary a question?
No, you're a co-host.
Yeah, the sound that you got on these records, man, is really fantastic. And
oh man, thank you.
And I was just curious. Yeah, no, I mean really, dude, because it's hard to find like new music that. I mean, I kind of know where you're coming from on some of this stuff, but you're doing it. You're writing your own material, and the arrangements are tough. But I was just curious how you're doing your records. Are you doing them like at a home studio, or are you going to somewhere in LA and just working on it, or do you bring the band in at once and do live sessions, or how do you go about it?
It kind of comes and goes around. This album actually was recorded over the last 2 years in about 5 different studios. A couple of them a little bit more kind of legit, and a couple of them a little bit more, in the shed in the back of your buddy's house. And a couple were done at my place. I have like a home studio setup, but yeah, it's kind of bouncing around using some, drum sessions from different. I'm pulling some of them I pulled the drums and sampled them from like other songs I've done, and some of them were live drums and some were just, obviously modern rock. A lot of it's like cool sounding, obviously fake drums. That's a thing. And, but yeah, actually as far as the band goes, I pretty much played everything on this record.
You do?
Wow.
Yeah. I grew up a bass player. I mean, when I first started playing, I was a bassist, and up until I was about 18. I actually just shared a photo yesterday on my Facebook and Instagram of in 2005 was December 31st. I bought my first electric guitar, and like I just happened to see it in a post, and I was like, oh man, I have to share this. So I was like 18 years old, and I had never really played guitar before, but so like I play bass, I play guitar, I can play keys, and obviously I sing. So it was pretty easy for me to just kind of knock out most of it. There's a couple songs have a couple extra guitar players. A couple of the songs I co-wrote with other people, they would maybe play some guitar on it. But
I think the bass is a
one-man show over here.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just going to ask him about the vocals, how you handle the vocals, because I kind of dig the way they sound. I mean, you got kind of that almost a lo-fi kind of on some of the stuff, and it's just it works really good with the music. But do you have a certain mic that you tend to use that you like, or is it just whatever?
Yeah, actually, I think every studio that I went to, I just sing into an SM7, the $400. They call it the Thriller microphone, right? That's what everybody knows it as. But yeah, I don't really use fancy mics or anything. I've used Telefunkens and Neumanns and things like that, but I always end up coming back to the SM7, and it seems to just work. And then, for me, my voice sounds good when you just cut out all the low end and just make it nasally and high pitched.
No, but it works because of your bass. It works with your bass. That's why I was going to go in the bass when you talked about starting in the bass and bass guitar. I think that's part of the beauty of your music is that it is derived from that bass side. And from there, that's where the simplicity comes in. And then you can build all these things. And then you've got the high side of your voice that balances out. Johnny, wouldn't you say, like, that bass, there's something where it comes from there. I remember when we started our band, I mean, gazillions of years ago, and, back in my baby dinosaur days, I took the guitarist I started playing with said, you need to play the bass. Go to the roots. And the bass, that's how I learned the blues and understood the blues was from playing bass guitar. And then my songs made more sense. What I was writing made more sense from playing bass. And it's something now is, we do these shows and, interview musicians and listen. There's something about going from the bass, because if you go from the bass, then you can bring the high and you understand the balance. But it seems to me that it has to come from the bass for some reason. Like it just, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't for everybody at all, but that there's something about understanding the bass that brings us beauty. Really.
Sure. Yeah, I've always felt that the bass was actually the most important. I mean, so many of my songs, I'm kind of just the guitarist, just playing chords. So it's like the coolness or the hipness of the song is like reliant on the bass, and I always try to make the bass line as cool as possible, not with overplaying or, maybe when I was in my early 20s, it would be an overplaying bass part, but, I'm not in my early 20s anymore. I'm in my early 30s now, but yeah, it's like that's the move. Is a cool bass line is everything. I think that makes or breaks a song, in my opinion. So I agree with you.
Yeah, Johnny, and you do that with your harp, right? There's like that bass side, and then you shift and go. Oh, now we're going.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, well, a lot of times it's funny. I'll write a song like with the harmonica. It's all I know really. I can play a piano a little bit, but so I'll come up with bass lines on the harp, and then that's the foundation of our songs, But they're a little more simpler than his. And the other thing about his writing, his lyrics are excellent, and his arrangement. The arrangements where it just goes all of a sudden when it goes to the vocal. The guitar drops out, and then it comes back in. Or the songs have a natural flow to them that are really, really refreshing.
Catchy.
They're catchy without being, without sounding like he's trying to write pop music.
Cheesy.
It's really, I was pleasantly surprised when I heard his stuff. I was like, wow, this is really cool. So anyway,
thanks, man.
I'm looking for.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that mud, the record about it's something to do with mud or something. I listened to the whole thing. I was like, wow, this is really something.
It's
cool.
so funny.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Mud,
I'm so excited about Johnny this because when you guys all ended up on the same show and Johnny's co-hosting, I'm like, I have this feeling that Johnny's going to dig Zachary's music, because Johnny is he's such a purist. You are, Johnny. I mean it. Like, I know he's been on shows where he's told people other things about them pontificating and being bad managers, and we still talk about this to this day, Johnny. And I thought, I have a feeling that you're going to really like Zachary's music, and I had this feeling. I've been waiting for this moment, so I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, no, I was, like I said, pleasantly surprised. Wow, it's, guys singing really well, playing real instruments, not sounding, and I love rock and roll anyway, so any guy that's out there playing like this now, I'm totally stoked about, man, because it's like, there's not enough of it. And I think what you're referring to was a few years ago with that guy who didn't like Kurt Cobain, because he sang out of, Zachary, this guy was trying to tell me that, he was trying to tell me that Kurt Cobain sucked or something because he sang out of tune. I don't know.
Like, you screw that because, Kurt Cobain sang a Pine Top Perkins song. You can't do that. You can't trash Kurt Cobain. That's bull.
You can't. Unless you can play anything yourself at all with any reasonable talent, shut up.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
anyway,
not liking Nirvana is sort of not liking the Beatles, and both of those I don't understand. I think they're just people trying to be different and have a unique viewpoint.
Yeah,
but
you have
no,
to,
I mean,
like
seriously.
So
yeah.
what,
yeah.
Zachary? Let's talk about right now about because I know Johnny, the whole thing too. We were talking about this whole what do musicians do now? I know Zachary, you've traveled the world with your music. Johnny does too. We go into slumps and film animals, which is pretty much the same as filming musicians. Just going to say,
Sure.
the same joy.
Probably cleaner.
I mean
actually.
it because it's really true. Okay, but
Alrighty then.
where are you going from here with the album release? Are you going to be able to do gigs, or are you looking more towards 2021 live streaming? What's going to happen on that level?
Oh yeah, definitely 2021. I mean, I live in LA. We're on like super lockdown mode again, so I know that there's like little things happening. I heard you guys mentioning before, because I was listening before about the drive-in shows, and I think that's awesome, and I hope that that's here to stay for a while, because hopefully eventually I can do something like that. But yeah, we're not doing shows. I have a pretty big yard. I'm thinking about doing some acoustic shows, but
cool.
I love playing live. I'm not like super itching to play at this very moment. I'm sure it'll catch me, eventually. I was lucky enough to do a tour of Sweden and the UK like right before in February, right before coronavirus like took a hold of the world and stopped it. But so that I'm grateful for that. I actually got to get a last tour in, but yeah, definitely not playing probably till 2021. I mean, I had a tour set up for, I think, right now. I was supposed to be on tour with my other band, and we just and then October and November and February, and now we're looking at like maybe next May getting back over to Europe, and same with for me for my solo stuff, and it's like it's just a weird time.
Yeah.
Wow.
But,
yeah.
Well,
so
it is. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen.
Do you think you're going to? Yeah. Do you think you're going to do a live stream thing?
I'm sure I will eventually. Yeah, I didn't want to jump on that really early. Right when COVID hit, I feel like a lot of bands and artists did that, which I think is great. It just got a little bit cluttered, so I like to zig when everyone else is zagging.
Yeah, so. Yeah. We went into daily shows and then we stopped, and now we actually cut way back, and now we're doing radio festivals just to be like kind of themed and fun, and have
I love it.
Co-hosts like Johnny on our show, because we miss Johnny. I mean, my God,
yeah.
we did all kinds of crazy stuff on our rants, raves, and rock and roll show, and now we behave kind of,
sort of.
Yeah, no. Well, you were drinking more then, I think.
Not.
You think?
No.
What do you mean? We're on the whiskey. Not today, though.
Yeah.
Today we're on the wine. But
yeah.
But Johnny, what are you gonna do? Like, do you think more live streams?
Well, we did kind of what I had the same attitude as Zachary. We waited 4 months before we did a live stream, and we did it, in a professional studio, and I wanted to make it stand out because there's so many.
Yeah.
It's overload. It's overload almost, with it. So we're setting up. We canceled the tour for the summer. Right now, we would be out there, and the agent I work with is hoping that he can set it up for June and July of next year. So, and in between, in New Orleans right now, we're on shutdown pretty much too. So, it doesn't look that great, but I'm trying to use the time for other stuff, release this record and, maybe explore a couple other things to income sources, because it doesn't look like things are going to open up. It's really hard to plan. It's hard to plan a tour when you don't even know if Americans are going to be allowed to fly into other countries,
Exactly.
So there's no rule book, man. So it's like this is all new, and it's very kind of frustrating. But I mean, I don't get that twisted about it. It's just, hey, it's the way the world is right now.
You got to change.
So I'm trying to roll. Yeah, you got to roll with it, and you can't fight it.
Right.
Yeah.
We travel full time.
Johnny, you nailed it. That's exactly it.
Our life changes every day. We think we're going here, and then it's like, no, we're not. And we're like, well, crap, let's find the next rest area, rest stop and figure it out. So every turn is a turn. And what we've learned is that when bad things or negative things happen, something positive is on the other side. Every time a door closes, a new door opens. And you got to remember that. We all do, something positive. I do want to say, like, people have died over this virus, and things have been negative for a lot of people, a lot of stress. And so I really, and I've said this on so many shows, thank musicians. Putting out music, coming on shows, Zachary, Joe, Johnny being on the show, putting out your music really means something, because I really believe music heals, and it makes us feel good. It's that one thing that we can just listen and have a good time, or connect and feel something in the center. So I really mean something. I mean it. It's like that's the one thing we can all have is music. Yeah. And if we can, everybody, as much as we can, support musicians the best way you can. Everybody's in a different level of economics now. Well, that's been there for years, but I mean, do what you can, If you can't afford to support a musician, share their show. Do what you can. Just do what you can, period. Yeah. And stay happy, listen to good music. Zachary, before you go, we're going to play Comeback. Tell us a little bit about that.
That song is kind of not really about one scenario, but it's sort of about different scenarios in my life and friendships and relationships, and just that feeling of sort of being neglected or felt like you did something wrong. I mean, everybody's insecure, right? A little bit. So everybody sometimes thinks, like, what did I do that was bad? That's kind of what it's about. And yeah. I think we can all, I think everybody in the world can be like, oh yeah, I know that feeling pretty well. So, and it's interesting once you know that everybody feels that way, it's like you can maybe let it go a little bit. But yeah, that's what it's about. And I just, it's a cool rock song. It was produced by Joseph Holliday, who produced pretty much my whole last album, and he produced like half of this one as well. I think he co-wrote on one or two of the songs as well. And I think it's just kind of more of my rock and roll with a little bit of blues flair type stuff.
I love it. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. We're really glad you could join us again. And Johnny, thank you for co-hosting and putting up with us as always.
It was a pleasure, a real pleasure.
No, really, it's awesome. We can't wait for your new album out. So Johnny's new album is going to come out in the future somewhere. So keep up with Johnny at johnnymaster.com. Cool. Keep up with Zachary, ZacharyKibbee.com. Right, Zach? Is that the best place for people to go for the whole thing? Because it's going everywhere, right? July 31st.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Just type in Zachary Kibbee. It's Kibbee. That's a cool name, man. I think I said that last time, too. It's like, that's a badass name. I'm Mr.
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time it was misspelled on a marquee, though, I'd have a boatload of nickels.
I know. That's why I'm like, I try to be like the spelling marm on the show. Yeah. I would spell it out. But Zachary Kibbee. Yeah, it's Mr. Kibbee. Right. So there, everybody, go get it.
Thank you so much for having me.
July 31st. Thank you all for joining us on today's day one of our Big Blend Radio Celebrate Music and the Arts Festival. We'll be back on Sunday, July 26th. And we're going to talk about mystery. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff. So join us then. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to the National Parks Arts Foundation for sponsoring the festival. Keep up with them at nationalparksartsfoundation.org. Yeah, nationalparksartsfoundation.org. I know you're all writing this down, really fast. So here it is. Come back. Thank you all for joining us. Take care. Be safe. Be safe. Wear your masks and, be safe. We got a lot of music to listen to. Here it is.
Thanks, guys.